I think it was the first time we felt that like, oh, this is what it's going to be like to be an entrepreneur.
Can get a little messy. So you want to have a very, very rough idea of what you're doing so that that development process is as smooth as possible.
You know, we're building at the forefront rather than just like sitting behind someone's idea and helping them build out their dream.
In this episode, we're diving into how Freelii turned their vision into a fully funded Web3 project. This is the story of how the team secured over $70,000 and gained the backing they needed to build out their vision for Freelii, the decentralized application. Following the success at Hack Meridian, Jose and Joseph joined forces and entered the Dora Hacks Hackathon, which had a tranche available to Stellar developers.
This is where it was rebranded to Freelii. So Strooper was just a passkey login, and then Freelii was like building that passkey into like chatbot remittance using smart contracts, some type of anchor integration, etc. Because we also had a very tight timeline for that. And I think it was the first time we felt that like, oh, this is what it's going to be like to be an entrepreneur. We were like messaging each other at 11 p.m., staying up on weekends, building out this like what seemed like such a simple product, but it was really like so much going into it. And I mean, first, when you see, I think 304 participants in the hackathon, I remember I was at a friend's birthday. Jose texted me, he's like, did you see the news? Did you see the news? And I like looked at my phone and we had come first and they like called each other. I was like, dude, like, holy. And that was honestly the first moment of conviction of, hey, we really need to do this. Like, you know, we keep talking about it, but this is the first time it felt really real. And I actually think that was like the first feeling of funding, which was thanks to Stellar, like giving those tracks that we could participate in before even applying for the SCF grant.
So after the Hack Meridian, you entered the Dora Hacks Hackathon and you won prizes in that one as well?
Correct, yeah. So we did, within 1 week, we decided to do a hackathon together to just see how we work together and just explore, I guess. And it was a really cool sprint. It was, I think, 1 week of, you know, I'm in my job going into like break rooms, filming recordings. Jose's like, I'm supposed to be working and I'm just trying to develop this app. And yeah, it was the first feeling of entrepreneurship for sure.
That's exciting, isn't it? Like that first time where you, especially going from working in a big company, I think you were before, was like a large traditional finance, to going from that to working in a small business where everyone has to do everything. It can be intimidating, but also quite rewarding and exciting. It's a faster pace of life, I guess. 100%.
And it really feels like, I remember Jose and I would sit down and we would like kind of stare out, and there was a balcony that you would always look at when we were working. And it's like, seeing that we're now participating in the world and trying to like add value to it rather than just like being part of it. And, you know, we're building at the forefront rather than just like sitting behind someone's idea and helping them build out their dream. And I think that's what keeps you going. It's hard though. Definitely difficult.
I take that as when you rebranded to Freelii as well, wasn't it?
I'm not too sure how. I just know that the Freelii name was one that I had from before. Like I was speaking to someone from open banking and I was like showing him like different concepts I was looking at, and he was like, oh, I love the name Freelii. And so I just like had it in my background for a while. But in general, it was just a need to rebrand from something that wasn't as applicable to everyone, which is like Strooper Wallet, which to me is like a lot more Web3 focused, to just a name that moves. Like for me, it's like I want people to move money freely. And when Jose and I discussed what we thought a vision of what we wanted to build was, it's imagine you go into a dashboard and you can just click 2 buttons and sending money from here and then back to here, and you don't have to worry about the fees because everything just feels so like you're moving so freely. And that's kind of where the name came from.
By early 2025, Jose and Joseph had rebranded their project as Freelii, and they were ready to tackle a challenging problem: remittances. For millions of people and organizations worldwide, sending money across borders is slow, expensive, and riddled with fees. Freelii's solution? A web application makes it simple to send and receive digital assets, such as stablecoins.
So something that's very cool about Telegram mini apps is that you can just develop a regular web application, just like the one here on the right. This is actually the same flow that we're going to be seeing on the left side when we're testing it out and in the chatbot. So this is how Freelii started, which is just a very simple way of setting up international remittances just through the phone. I'm going to make a quick walk over how it looks. So first we select the country, then the name, phone number, and the amount that we want to send to the recipient here. We just validate that everything here makes sense, and just like that. This is where we started playing around with Stellar anchors. In order to send or to interact with these anchors, we need to make all of the specific steps that these require, like the KYC. It first starts with authentication. Then it goes through KYC, and then we can just choose any of the SEP protocols for international transfers. On the GitHub, I have a small diagram that goes through that, but we can just go over it later. And here, so we need to verify the identity of the sender here. I'm just going to put some random information here. So after the phone is verified, we need to go through just document verification or like general identity verification. So once the identity is verified, we need to choose how we are going to make the payment. So this is where Stellar's anchors come in.
Let me just take a moment here to explain what anchors are and how they work. So imagine that you have some money in your bank account and you want to get that on-chain to do something with it. Then you need an organization with traditional banking rails to onboard or on-ramp that fiat currency. So you need to get your dollars or GBP maybe into a stablecoin, for example, a tokenized digital asset. This is where anchors come in. The Stellar Anchor platform is a full-featured and very customizable piece of software which allows organizations like this to issue digital assets and integrate that tokenization platform into their existing business logic. If you want to learn more about the Anchor platform and how to set it up as a Docker image, then there's a tutorial link to it in the description.
Well, at the very beginning, when I was working with the first hackathon with N3X, I was a little scared about just going through all the documentation for the anchors. It was like very, very overwhelming for me. But then I just like decided to go through it, and apparently it's not that hard to read. Because at the beginning, if you have no context and you start saying like SEP 1, SEP 2, SEP 6, and then that's how people are talking in the Discord, like, hey, you need to integrate SEP 12 or refer to SEP 10 for authentication, then the token. But then once it's like just a few of them, and then once you are very used to the concepts, it makes a lot of sense. Just knowing that whenever you're talking about SEP 12, it's directly related to KYC, or either 6, 24, or 31. All of those involve either sending, receiving, or just both of them, like for international remittances. Stellar has a test anchor where you can test all of this, because getting to integrate with real anchors on test environments is not as easy. So I think that's why Stellar built their own, just so that developers can go ahead and test everything out before going and make the real integration. So what happens now? I'll just need to review that everything is correct here. And when I click on review and confirm, this is gonna take us to the exact same flow that we went through before, but all of the information is already filled here. So they just need to confirm, go through it, and repeat the exact same flow that we already did here. This is the magic of how we can just develop everything on the background for the user and then just present it on the best UI possible, either as a web app or just as a Telegram chatbot.
Behind the scenes, the application is being built using cutting-edge web and blockchain technologies. Passkeys for seamless, secure logins, Stellar anchors to bridge fiat and crypto effortlessly, and Soroban smart contracts to provide decentralized, permissionless computation. The goal for Freelii was simple but ambitious: to integrate a Stellar anchors network and bring fast, affordable remittances to the world with a user experience that anyone could use. To make that happen, they needed more than just a good idea, they needed funding. The Stellar Community Fund, or SCF, is a program designed to fuel early-stage projects building on Stellar. Think of it as the launch pad for blockchain innovators, offering funding, mentorship, and the support of the Stellar ecosystem.
Personally, when I went to the hackathon in Stellar EZA, I spoke with Phil and Dom Kwok, and they were basically telling me and speaking to me about the ideas I'd presented to them. And they said, you know, if you just bring that forward, if you participate in this hackathon, Stellar is super supportive of wanting to bring builders on board. And then funnily enough, when we went for a beer, Jose and I, it was something that Jose had also heard about, how there was the Kickstarter program, and then there was also the development foundation that was like really emphasizing the support in a larger sum amount. Now, Jose also participated in some other fundraising tools, so I'll let him speak to that.
Yeah, when I went to Meridian, I already knew about this, like the different stages of applying for funding on Stellar. I just thought how cool it was that if you have an idea and somehow a plan on how getting it done, then you can just apply for it. And if it also makes sense to other people, then you'll get everything you need just to get started. I was not very confident about just applying by myself. And I didn't have a very specific idea on what I wanted to work. But then it was after just speaking with other developers on the ecosystem, some of them from Peru, from Chile, Argentina. They were already part of the Stellar Community Fund with some of their own projects. So they were the ones that encouraged me to try to follow up with what I built on the Meridian Hackathon with a Strooper wallet. And I was already speaking with Joseph about the possibility of building something together. So that's when everything just clicked. We wanted to build something together. Then Stellar wanted to fund people wanting to work full-time on their projects. So that's how we decided to make the jump.
And also during the gala, we spoke to people who had already founded and started projects and like a whole year into it already. And they were re-emphasizing that they were participating at Stellar Meridian, going to the gala, and being there to get additional funding to speak to the team, that it was like a community where they could make requests for additional support. And that seemed really cool to us as well.
For Jose and Joseph, the Stellar Community Fund was the perfect fit. They submitted a formal proposal detailing how it would use Stellar's technology to solve a real-world problem.
So you basically needed to build out the 3 tranches of what you wanted to complete to receive your full funding amount. So the first tranche is building your MVP. Jose kind of had a rough idea of Strooper Wallet. Then when we did the hackathon, it really gave us the base of an MVP already. Then we needed to submit what we wanted to do to submit that to testnet. Once you got on testnet, how do you put it to the live? That would cover all 3 tranches.
And what was your first steps? What did you speak to someone at Stellar? Did you fill in an application form? What was the first step that you took towards getting that funding?
For myself, it was joining the Discord channels. There's an online community that has a lot of discussions. In particular, someone named Amir was super helpful. He's just a moderator on the Discord channel, and I would just bounce questions off him over and over and over again, and he would support me. I'm like, what's this deadline? What's going on here? Oh, what type of handbook is there to guide us? And he would just guide everything. And it's kind of crazy because I've never even met him in person, and he was so supportive straight off the bat. And then there was also just available channels where if you asked a question, it was the whole community willing to support rather than just one person. As things have progressed, there's also been support from actual members on the team, such as Gemma. She's quite responsive on email as well as on Discord as well.
Let's find out some more about the application process, how it's judged, and what they're looking for in new projects.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gemma. I'm on the ecosystem growth team at the Stellar Development Foundation, and I work on the Build Award part of the Stellar Community Fund, which is the chunk in the middle for projects. Particularly what my team does is we really want to focus on the developers and on the people that are building on Stellar and that are tinkering on Stellar, we like to say. So the SCF Build Award is a one-time award of up to $150,000 worth of XLM, which is our native currency, for projects to work for about 6 months And their final goal at the end of the Build Award is they're going to launch on the Stellar mainnet. So they're going to have a fully built and launched product at that time. So the projects that we get in are in sort of a middle stage. They're still fairly early, but they have at this point maybe an MVP. They have some users, they're starting to work on partnerships, and they need this to get from sort of this early ideas, maybe like pre-seed phase, to like, here's our product, we have users, we're ready to go on the market or to launch. This is a really crucial time for a project to be developing. And so we get a lot of projects that are like, hey, I completed SCF Kickstart, which is the first step of this program. What do I do now? And so then we're able to provide projects with support and with funding in order to get all the way to their launch on mainnet.
In March 2025, the news dropped. Freelii had successfully secured a grant from the Stellar Community Fund. The team received $72,500 in initial funding. It wasn't just about the money, though that must have certainly helped. It was a validation, a signal to the Stellar community and beyond that Freelii was ready for the next challenge.
We had a very up and down swing of things. So we won the hackathon and we rode this like super big high, and then we submitted and filled out a whole business plan, like everything we thought that was going to go into this idea. And the idea was based off a company doing a similar thing on WhatsApp, Felix Pago, from Mexico to the US. And we kind of looked at the technical architecture of what would be needed for that product, submitted everything, and we waited super patiently, and we were like, oh no, we didn't get it. So the first round we actually didn't get because we didn't read the guidelines well enough. And I think that's something people need to be aware of is you can't just like spit information of what you think is super relevant onto an application. We needed to cut out some of the costs that we requested. We needed to do some of the stuff that we wanted to pay people in-house. And we just made those edits. We got all of the feedback directly from the team saying this is why the community like didn't put you through. Once we made those changes, we resubmitted, got it that month, and yeah, it was a pretty ecstatic high.
With the Stellar Community Fund behind them, Jose and Joseph are now full speed ahead building, testing, and refining their application in preparation for mainnet launch. Winning a hackathon is one thing, but turning a prototype into a real product capable of handling a user's financial transactions is a significant undertaking.
It's very different building for a hackathon and then building something that real people are going to be using, hopefully on a regular basis. For instance, on a hackathon, you can be scratchy and messy, and like your main objective is just to be very quick and then to get something out there to put in front of the judges. It doesn't matter how bad it looks on the background, it just needs to work and to validate the idea that you're presenting. I really enjoy this, like building like this, but it's not scalable, not sustainable to build a business and a full product. So once you start building for production, then you need to stop for a moment, and you need to be sure, or at least have a very rough idea of what you're building, so you can start designing, and then after that, once you're ready, you can start coding. And it involves backend systems design, database design, how are the people going to be using the product, all of the UX. It's very cool that right now we have all of these AI tools that make all of these very, very simple for small teams, but still it's very different, building fast and building something more robust.
With real funding comes real responsibility. The team now had to think beyond just proving an idea. They needed to allocate resources wisely, prioritize security, and ensure the application could scale to real-world users.
So in terms of funding right now, the goal is to run as lean as possible. So when you make the application, I think they give you a bit of room to be generous in your budgets towards certain deliverables. That being said, we tried to keep it realistic in terms of time for development. Jose is genuinely, well, both of us working 14 hours a day, every single day. And we're not paying ourselves salary yet, but that's part of it for sure. To make you comfortable doing the jump, you almost have to pay yourself a slight salary. The biggest fees and costs for us actually was just learning costs. So one of the things was like incorporating as an LLC and then realizing, oh, if we want to be a venture-backed company that scales and grows, you need to be a C corporation. And then we had to dissolve the LLC and then make a C corporation. And that process, because we messed up by incorporating as one and not the other, ended up costing us like $2,500. There's database costs, there's development costs, testing costs. There's actually like partnership costs. So even with the anchors that you're integrating with your product, some of them are charging like minimum fees of, I won't say exacts, but like large amounts. And if you're not a good negotiator, you're going to be stuck with those. So a lot of the times we were trying to figure out ways to mitigate those costs as much as possible. And then even on the test transactions we're putting through, we're having to pay fees as well on that. And I'll let Jose speak to some of the development costs as well, but I'd say that is kind of the overarching fees that we're facing currently. Whereas we're kind of an anomaly in the sense that we're trying to keep as much money just like in our pockets while we keep building this out more and more.
We're trying to keep it very, very low. For instance, for anything related to front-end development, we're able to host it on Vercel, which has a very, very generous free tier. Then for other things that involve more robust systems, then we are already trying to build directly on Amazon Web Services. So that can get a little more expensive. Also, we are going to be, at least at the very beginning, we're going to use some of those funds to sponsor the transaction fees for our initial customers until we figure out a way on how to make like the business work around it.
One of the special things about the Stellar community is its support for devs building the ecosystem, whether it's technical guidance, feedback on product decisions, or connections to potential partners. The Freelii team found themselves surrounded by a network of peers and mentors eager to help and push them forwards.
From both the development side and the actual business operation side, there's been a high level of support. So there were some people that we were put in touch with on the product team at Stellar who consistently support Jose with some of his development. On my side, that Discord, and I know even on the development side, Jose's very active in the Discord channel, and he feels like he almost has like 3 different employees like trying to support development, which is pretty cool. From my side, yeah, the support is great. This series is, I just think, one of the many things that Stellar has stuck their neck out to support us with. And they've even wanted us to attend some different conferences with them. I've sat down on like the demo days of many products and have met with many of the founders on Stellar. And those people are all in my back pocket now, where whenever we want to, we can communicate, touch base, and hear how everything's going. So I think the community is very hands-on once you're building with each other.
For other developers out there, what advice would you have for anyone looking at raising funding?
For my personal perspective, I just say it's taking the technology, which is very complex and difficult to understand for a lot of people, and finding like the real world business use cases for it, where I've looked through all of the tranches, all of the applicants of the SCF submissions. It seems like the ones that get the money to get up and going and make a serious leap at trying to make something, it's usually for the ones trying to solve real world problems, especially with Stellar, who is a blockchain that really is looking at the financial inclusion, like real world application, and bringing on-chain to what is like off-chain world.
Also for the developers getting to build with Stellar, an advice that was given to me that I would also like to pass on is that before starting to get hands-on with the development part, try to design and be sure what you want to be building. Because once you're in the middle of it, it can get a little messy. So you want to have a very, very rough idea of what you're doing so that the development process is as smooth as possible.
If you're a developer curious about integrating anchors into your own Stellar project, then check out the tutorial linked in the description. In the next episode, we'll be looking at how the team embraced user feedback to refine the user experience of the Freelii decentralized app. Until then, keep building.
Woo!